We believe what we see. We trust our eyes. But when it comes to the great, iconic photographs of American history, we think of a photo as a perfect, frozen moment of truth. But what if I told you the camera isn't just an eye? It's a tool, wielded by a human hand, guided by a human will. And that wheel, well, it often lies. Today, we're stepping into the darkroom of the past to unmask the smoke and mirrors that built the visual history of a nation. Let's travel back to July 1863, to the bloody fields of Gettysburg. The Civil War was the first conflict photographed in detail, shocking the public with its brutality. Matthew Brady and his team were seen as pioneers of truth, but sometimes the truth wasn't very photogenic. One of the most famous images from the battle is called Home of a Rebel Sharpshooter, taken by Alexander Gardner. It shows a Confederate soldier, dead in a Rocky sniper's den, his rifle propped nearby. It's a tragic, poetic image of a lonely death, but it's a complete fabrication. Gardner arrived at the scene 2 days after the fighting had stopped. The bodies were bloated and scattered chaotically. He needed a story, not just a corpse. He and his assistants found the body of a young infantryman on an open slope. Not a dramatic enough setting. So, they grabbed the dead soldier and dragged him 40 yards over rough terrain to the rock formation we now call Devil's Den. They posed his body, turning his head just so, towards the camera. A sharpshooter needs a rifle, right? The one in the photo wasn't his. It was a prop rifle Gardner carried with him, one that appears in several of his other photos from different locations. The truth of war that horrified America was, in this case, a carefully constructed stage play. Next, let's look at a man every American recognizes, Abraham Lincoln. The most famous portrait shows him as the great standing tall hand on a table, looking every bit the heroic statesman. It's an icon. But here's the question. Whose body is that? In the 1860s, there was no Photoshop, but there were scissors and glue. After Lincoln's assassination, the public craved heroic images of their fallen leader. The problem was, Lincoln was a tall, awkward man who often slouched in photos. He didn't always look like the majestic figure people wanted to remember. So, engravers found a morbid solution. They took a portrait of Lincoln's head and pasted it onto the body of John C. Calhoun. For those who don't know, Calhoun was a Southern politician and one of the fiercest defenders of slavery in American history. The irony is staggering. The body of a man who championed slavery was used to create an iconic image of the man who signed the Emancipation Proclamation. Now let's head to the American West in the early 1900s. Photographer Edward S. Curtis created a breathtaking series of photos called the North American Indian. His goal was to document what he called a vanishing race. You've seen his work, a chief on horseback, gazing into the misty distance. Curtis was a brilliant artist, but he was also a romantic. He wanted to capture a pure, pre-industrial people, untainted by the modern world. The only problem was, that world didn't exist anymore. By the turn of the century, Native American life had already adapted. When Curtis looked through his lens, he saw tribal leaders wearing suspenders, alarm clocks inside their homes, and people using modern metal tools. This reality didn't fit his noble savage fantasy. So, in the dark room, he performed surgery on history. He scratched the alarm clocks out of the negatives. He blurred out the modern suspenders. He even darkened photos of wagons to make them look like ancient travois. He created a beautiful lie that erased the resilience and adaptability of indigenous people, freezing them in a fictional past to satisfy a white audience that preferred them as historical artifacts rather than living, evolving communities. Let us move forward to the Great Depression in 1936. One face defines that era. Florence Owens Thompson. Better known as the Migrant Mother, Dorothea Lange is photographed as perhaps the most famous in American history. It shows a worried, weathered mother, her children bearing their faces in her shoulders. It is a raw, powerful symbol of poverty and maternal strength, but it's not the whole truth. First, look closely at the bottom right corner of the most famous version of the print. You'll see a strange blur. That's the ghost of Florence's thumb. In the original negative, her hand was gripping a tent pole, and her thumb was prominently in the frame. Lange felt the thumb was a distraction from the emotional core of the image, so she retouched it out. But the manipulation went deeper. Lange took several photos that day. Wider shots show Florence's teenage daughter and a trunk of their belongings. They were a larger family unit, not just a helpless mother with infants. Why? Because in 1936, the public had little sympathy for able-bodied teenagers or men who were out of work. She curated the scene to trigger a specific emotional and charitable response, creating powerful propaganda to secure government funding for aid programs. Our final stop is Iwo Jima. 1945 Joe Rosenthal's photo. Raising the flag on Iwo Jima is the ultimate image of American victory. 6 Marines, straining together, hoisting the stars and stripes on Mount Suriba. It's a masterpiece of composition and a symbol of unity and struggle. It helped sell millions in war bonds, but it wasn't the first flag raised that day. But a commanding officer decided the flag was too small to be seen from the beaches below and ordered a larger one to be brought up. Rosenthal arrived just as this second, larger flag was being raised on a heavy pipe. He scrambled, swung his camera up, and snapped the shot without even looking through the viewfinder. The photo was incredible, but rumors immediately flew that it was staged. When asked, Rosenthal truthfully said he had staged a photo on the summit, but he was referring to a different, posed group shot he took later. The press conflated the two stories. For decades, the public believed this was asterisk. The asterisk moment of capture. The men in the second photo became legendary heroes, while the men who raised the first flag were largely forgotten. A logistical flag swap was transformed into a mythological event. We look at old photographs and say, this is how it was. But we're wrong. A photograph is not a passive recording of reality. It's a series of decisions. What to include, what to exclude, what to emphasize, and what to hide. From the moved body of a soldier at Gettysburg to the retouched clock in a Native American home, from the composite body of a president to the carefully framed desperation of a mother, American history has been consciously and deliberately crafted through the lens. The real truth isn't always in the image itself. It's in the shadows, just outside the framing. The story of what the photographer didn't want us to see. To truly understand our past, we have to look behind the picture. Thanks for watching.